Welcome to DC. You know we're out at the USA Cup. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you throw apple, you gon' be right back. Well, we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC. DC, the home of Chuck Brown. Oh, you don't know the sound? Well, let me break it down. The G.O., the G.O.
All right, this is the Big Douglas Show. It is a preview Friday, and for that, we have brought Julie Donaldson onto the show. Julie, how are you?
Doing good. Looking forward to building off of that wild game down in Atlanta and hopefully carrying it over for the home crowd at FedEx Field on Sunday.
There are no easy ones, and the schedule is not getting ready to get any easier, that's for sure. Julie, I'm curious, it's year 2 in the radio booth for you. What have you learned from last year that you've that you can build on? What did you not like? What have you improved on? How is it going? The same group back for year 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think D'Angelo, Bram, and I, we get along pretty well. I feel like we connected right off the bat. Granted, I had a good working relationship with both of them to begin with. I think for year 2 heading into it, for myself personally, I'm responsible for more at work. Making sure that the broadcasts go off, the radio goes off. My team's a little bit larger for myself. So it's a little bit more time management, which is challenging. My days are kind of taken up with a lot of administration and certain leadership responsibilities. And so that it becomes like, well, when do I prepare? When do I get to listen to the press conferences and, make the phone calls that I need to make to steady up? So that's honestly it's just the biggest challenge that I'm up against is just the time management. But we're still enjoying it. We're still learning and growing and it's nice. The difference this year is we are on the road. So that's a huge factor as well. It was pretty cool to go down to Atlanta to be able to see the team there. So that should hopefully benefit us as well.
I was going to ask you, last year, year 1 was so crazy because of COVID that things that normally happen were not happening. You're traveling now. Do you travel with the team or you guys travel separately? I know there's some COVID things there.
Yeah, we travel separate. A lot of the teams are still very cautious during COVID and there's just a lot at risk. And even though, you can be fully vaccinated, you could still get COVID, you can still pass it on. And so the team just wants to, protect the guys in the bubble as best as possible. And of course, nobody wants to, disrupt any of that. We want the games to go on. We want our guys to be able to be out there to have the best fighting chance. So, we'll adhere to what it is, but man, I cannot wait until we are out of this. I know the rest of the world is with me.
I know it felt like we were so close and then it feels like we've stumbled again. I know, it's so frustrating. When during the week do you kind of start getting prepared for the next team? So this week it's New Orleans. What does your schedule look like during the week as far as the radio broadcast goes?
Yeah. I'm going to be real with you, not soon enough. It's a 7-day week job. It really is. And I try to have, lighter days on Fridays and Saturdays. But of course, if you're traveling Saturday, you're on the road, you're at the airport. But those are usually my best days to really, really prep and just focus on the game. And in all honesty, I wish I could have that mindset on Monday and Tuesday, but it just doesn't seem to work that way, and to make sure that you're getting ready for it. But it just feels a little bit like it's kind of always a mad dash, but I think that's what the football season is. I remember last year getting to the end of it. And I think adrenaline was kind of running, through my veins for the majority of the season, being everything new and just kind of wild, in a wacky year. But I tend to feel that, it was at the end of the year, I was like, man, I just ran a marathon at a sprint pace. So I firmly knew what I was coming into this year, but that doesn't make it necessarily any easier. And it's not a complaint. It's just that, there's so much to do and there's so little time. And before you know it, you're on to the next game. And it's just, we're a little bit of a rhythm now where we kind of know what to expect out of our days, but we do a lot of shows. I'm still filming 7 other shows outside of, the broadcast. So it's not the prep doesn't come as soon as I want, but it does get done. How's that? Just being real.
When you're sitting back relaxing, are you a beer lady or a wine lady? How do you sit back and relax when it's time for relaxing?
Glass of wine, maybe even a cigar these days.
Oh, okay, very nice. A
But
lot of cigar smokers in your world, I know.
there are. I came across at one of the events we were doing. Somebody gave me a nice cube, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't too bad." I'm from Florida, so I've smoked them here and there, but I've come to enjoy them a little bit more now. Another thing that I'm doing this year that I didn't do last year, but I've always done in my life, is I'm making sure I'm getting my gym in. I think it's just important to make sure you take care of your body, because that's also really taking care of your mind. I always said my workouts were more for my mental capacity than the physical. So I'm really trying to make sure that I don't let those skip by me this year where they did last year entirely.
Well, Julie, there's a game coming up on Sunday. For those that didn't know, let's talk a little bit about it. The injury report, we were so healthy last year.
Mm-hmm.
And we really were healthy. The injury bug has popped up on us. It's popped up on a weird time too, with all the head trainer stuff swirling. We won't get into that because I know there's not a whole lot to talk about. But I am curious how much that training staff leads to the health of the players. I talked to Charles Leonard the other day. He's getting ready to play his 100th straight game. And I asked him, how do you do that? He says, it's just luck. I find that hard to believe. What does the training staff had to do with these guys and their health?
I'm not one that necessarily really believes in luck, but I do think there's a certain fortune we may or may not have. There's a few unfortunate situations where you take a bad step, you get a bad hit, and it may or may not be detrimental to a player. We were very fortunate last year, especially given the years before. I mean, I'll tell you, it just seemed like guys were going down left and right, especially on that O-line. It just, you're playing with guys a lot of times you're picking up off the street, And let's not remember, that's one of the reasons we got Adrian Peterson too, a couple of years ago. So it's just one of those things. It's going to happen in football. We know how violent this sport is. We were very fortunate last year. And, as we were going through that game and we're in the booth, and it was just we're starting to count up the names that went down. And it was just man, this is not turning out good for us, But it is that mentality. It's the nature of the game. No team's going to escape it. It's next man up. So we had Ricky Seals-Jones on our podcast, The Players Club, with D'Angelo Hall, and Santana Moss was on this one. And he was kind of talking about his path in the NFL and how he was a wide receiver in college, never played tight end. And I think sometimes we dismiss how hard it is to learn a new position, especially at the level of the NFL. To do it at that stage is just almost unheard of. And what we're asking is kind of crazy. But it's going to be his opportunity with Logan Thomas down. Wes Schweitzer is going to get in there with Brandon Sheriff down. DeAndre Carter is going to have more opportunities out there as well. So, it can be, great fortune for one of those guys as much as is a misfortune for some that are hurt.
Your guy, Logan Paulson, told me that it was only tight end and middle linebacker, the two hardest positions to transfer from college into the NFL or switching from wide receiver because of the blocking. And I think that'll be the big thing for Ricky on Sunday, right? His hands are fine. He missed a couple passes. I know he'd like to have back on Sunday, but the reps weren't there. It'll be the blocking, right, that he'll be asked to do will be the biggest difference for him.
That's what he's saying. He's like, because I never put my hand in the ground, get me on open space and running a route. And that's my comfort zone. He's like, that's what I know. And he said, he goes, I don't regret, because he didn't realize that he was going to be a tight end until he's drafted in Arizona, and he walks into the wide receiver room and they're like, you lost, buddy? You're in the other room. And he's like, wait, what? Okay. But he said he kind of wished he had learned that position and had the opportunity to have some reps at it in college before he got here. But, he is in his fifth year. He's still learning. And he says, because again, they don't always get as many reps, but you've got to learn the routes. You've got to learn the blocking, got to learn how to work against the run. And then when the ball does come your way, that should be the easy, natural spot for him. And he said, that touchdown he had against the Giants right there in the end zone, he said, they practice that. He goes 10 times out of 10, it comes straight to him. The ball is exactly where it has to be. So when it came to the game, it's like they'd already done it numerous times in practice. So, but that was a fantastic catch. So we know he's got the ability to get out there. It's just, he's going to get the opportunity and let's see what he can do.
Everybody's favorite player is the backup quarterback. It's insane to think that Fitzpatrick I don't think had ever lost his job in the league because of injury, right? There was just always some young gunner in the wing. So for him to go down like that was just insane. But in a put up or shut up league, I mean, Heineke is putting up. It's been quite incredible. Should be another opportunity for him to put up some numbers on Sunday.
You have to remember, this is just his 5th start in the NFL. And it's kind of wild because at this point it should be, like what, year 8 or 9 or something. I don't know exactly what it would be, but it's just his 5th start. So, he's really won over that locker room. Those guys, they see the way he plays, they see the way he keeps them in the game until the last second. Like Taylor believes they have a chance. They said he never goes in the huddle doubting that they're not going to make the play or thinking that they're too far behind. It's just an insurmountable task to come back. He has full faith that they're going to make the play. And the guys go, we can see it in his facial expressions. And so they buy in. They go, if he's going to go all out, we have to go all out. And I think that's why you're seeing some of these heroics, some of these crazy plays and a little bit of life in the offense where we weren't sure what we were going to get. I mean, especially when Fitzpatrick goes down in that first one, we're thinking, okay, here we go. But Taylor, he knows how to keep his mind ready, how to keep his body ready, and that's paying off. Of course, always the question we keep asking is it sustainable? Well, he's showing us he's still a gamer. So as long as he keeps showing us he's a gamer and he can make some of those plays that, you sit there and you think, terrible throw. Okay, great throw. Some of it's a little risky, but that's what you're going to live and die by with him under center and knowing that, there's a reason why his career's gone the way it's gone, but it's nice to see him get those chances now.
The league, and I'll me personally, way off on J.D. McKissic. He has been incredible this year. He was incredible last year too. Every bit as good as Gibson this year. The running back room is really good. Amazing to think you're talking about players learning new positions, but these guys were receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing. People are saying Gibson needs more touches, but I think they've done it the right way, kind of splitting the load and really trying to get both those guys on the field as much as they can, even together.
They trust JD, they're like, JD's the vet. He's solid. He's, what you're going to get from him. A lot of times they use him in those third down scat back situations, but I think he's capable of a little bit more. But I know they also really wanted to, you think about it, they really wanted to build their future around Antonio Gibson. So they really wanted to kind of establish him and give him those reps because he's who they want to be for the, the duration of this team in the years going forward. So it's probably why you get a little bit more of him. He is, a little bit of a bigger body. But it's nice to know that you can have both of them out there and you put both of them out there at the same personnel. It's like, wait, which one's going to do what? And that's the whole thing about Scott Turner's offense is he likes to keep the defenses guessing. He likes to put guys all over the field and line them up. So you don't know, and you're not just giving it away where if you put him in, you know exactly what the play calling is going to be. So, and that's the nice thing about JD is you have the ability to do that with him. And it was nice to see him get that in front of his, he's from Georgia, to get that in front of his family and his friends, his high school, they were all there. So really cool to see those moments pay off and to see so many of them when their families could be in person for it.
I like Scott Turner as a play caller. I feel bad for him that he's had so many quarterbacks that I don't think people really get an appreciation for what it is he's trying to do on offense. Hopefully with a little bit more, sustained quarterback play, we can really kind of see what it is that he wants to do, because I think he's more innovative than people give him credit for.
Yeah, I don't think he's been able to open up everything that he wants to do. They're still putting the pieces together, and he draws up a lot of plays where unfortunately they get missed or they don't carry out the way that it was drawn up, but that's also just the way it goes, right? That's what you have to do. But I think the one thing you can also say about him is they go in with a plan. And, even for last year, so sometimes it might take a little bit to see how the defenses are going to play them. But they make adjustments, and we see that the way that they come out in the second half. We see that they can make those adjustments and he can adjust the play calling to understand, okay, this is how they're playing us and this is going to be the best way to counteract that. So, he grew up with his dad being, one of the best in the league and he talks with him a lot, learns from him, but he's done his work. So, I like the games that he's been calling, and I like the innovation. So I'm excited to kind of see as this team does have a little bit more stability in their pieces. And when they do eventually get that quarterback of the future, what they're capable of doing.
Gibson and Samuels should be a go for Sunday. You think they'll both play?
Certainly hope so. Yeah.
We talked about making adjustments. The offense, I believe, is 11th in the league, and the defense is 30th in the league, just as we expected before the season started, right? Not at all.
Unexpected.
It feels like adjustments are needed. At the same time, I'm fully aware, and I don't think a lot of people give enough attention to the fact that other than Cam Curl, the defense and the back end is totally different from last year. I mean, all those guys are new. St. Juice hopefully will be back. I'm not sure how he is along in the concussion protocol, but are we expecting too much out of a defense that essentially is brand new on the back end?
Yeah, I mean, look, the expectations were high, right? And you look at just who they played last year and how they played. And given especially that they came out of a 3-1 season the year before, I mean, it was easy to get high on them. They had some really outstanding moments, but let's not forget it took some time for them to really come together, right? They started the year 2-7, and we were all kind of going, okay, here we go again. It took some time for them to grow together, to learn together, to get the system, to really buy into it. So I think that's the one encouraging thing now is that we know we've got the talent. They've got to learn to play together. They're not living up to their expectations, and they're trying to do too much. So I think, the coaching staff can get these guys to dial it back, get to the basics, learn how to trust each other, learn to know what their job is, read their keys, get their gaps down. And then they have the ability to come together. So actually, Mike Silver just wrote an article on the defense today. He's, a national contributor and also a contributor for us. So he kind of got into the weeds a little bit on what this coaching staff is really doing to fix the defense and taking a hard look at itself and saying, we're not living up to expectations, and maybe they were too high coming into the year, but it doesn't matter. They should not be where they're sitting at right now. So, the whole season's in front of them, but it's one of those things too, where I get, if you're a fan, it's like, okay, like we don't have much time before we're too far behind to be able to gain that ground, because you're looking at what the Cowboys are doing. And, I kind of think the Giants might be trending in the right direction a little bit. So it's going to be a wild ending to the year.
Will putting Reeves back at free safety be in that article that Silver wrote?
Well, go check it out.
Well done. But I would like to see him back there, frankly. Yeah. And I'd like to see him play a little bit more man if they routed man corners. I understand they wanted to be more multiple. Still a lot of zone being played. Jamin Davis will be playing a lot more, which should be a good thing. Adding more speed to the defense can't be a bad thing.
It's just, with that unit, it's the same thing you hear from everybody. It's, they're thinking. And you even see Cole Holcomb at times thinking, and at that unit especially, you're thinking you're a step behind, because you make that one hesitation. That's all it takes. It's that game of inches. So I mean, especially for that linebacker unit, they just got to play fast. They got to be confident in what they're doing, trust their instincts, and then just go make the play on the ball. But, I think they're still just trying to figure out and are questioning themselves a little bit. So, Jamin Davis, look, nobody questions his athletic ability. He's got all of that. So when does he grasp the scheme, and when does he just get to where he plays fast?
Julie, we wrap each Friday with a little over under. Let's start with the quarterback. Over under 275 yards passing.
I don't know. I mean, the Saints defense is pretty legit, but I'm going to have to be positive here. So I'll go over. Actually, you know what? No, let's go under for this one. Let's go a little bit under. We might have to go a little bit more on the ground game.
It could be a big ground game. Who gets more rushing yards, Alvin Kamara or Antonio Gibson?
Probably Alvin Kamara. They haven't been letting, Jameis Winston throw a lot. And for as good as hands as Kamara has, they've been relying a lot on the ground game. Let's see if they stick to script, or if this is the game where they decide to test that secondary. You're talking about having to learn each other out. But, we like Gibson a lot and throwing those checkdowns and the passes to him. So I'll give it to Kamara.
Interesting about the Saints. I challenge you to name more than 2 receivers on that team right now. It's hard.
I know. Michael Thomas isn't out there, so that doesn't count.
I know.
That's one you really need to worry about.
We are still waiting for the Chase Young breakout game. Will we get it this week? Let's put the over-under at 1.5 sacks.
Under, but I'll say he gets a sack.
It's amazing how this isn't a, but just it's amazing to me how well Jonathan Allen has played so far after getting that contract. He looks more explosive to me than he has in years past. Has he said anything about that, or are we just seeing it more?
Maybe. I mean, he credits his sacks to his other, the other line mates helping him out a little bit. Maybe he's motivated because he's happy he got that nice contract, the 72 million for a year extension. He's always been a solid player, but he's one of those leaders on the team. He's got to be able to be that guy that says, all right, someone's got to step up. So it's been nice to see him be productive through the start of the season.
More tackles on Sunday, Holcomb or Davis?
Holcomb. Yeah, I'm still going to go with Holcomb for that one. A little more experience. He's already the tackling machine, and he also leaves a lot of tackles out there for as many as he does get.
Is Landon Collins playing because of the contract? I mean, is that why he's out snapping Cameron Curl, do you think? I'm not in the rooms to decide and see how that goes, but they know his strengths. They know his weaknesses, and they feel that they're going to put him in the best position to make the best plays. Terry McLaurin is on a heater, over under 100 yards for him on Sunday.
I'm going to go over on this one. I'm buying into Terry all day long.
Hard not to. They're going to have to give that man a whole lot of money real soon.
Mm-hmm. And he'll be worth it. He'll be worth it. Every
penny. If Schweitzer, I guess, is in for Sheriff as long as he's not available.
Yep.
Let's wrap with this, Julie. Who is your dog going to pick to win on Sunday?
Lucy, where is she at? She's running around here somewhere. You know how that one's going to go, but she gets a choice this week of her dinner or a bowl of tomatoes. So you tell me which one she's going for.
I've got a good idea. What about you? You got a score prediction for us on Sunday?
I don't do predictions. One thing I will say, we're all waiting for this team to blow someone out of the water, but it doesn't look like that's, the way that it's been playing these lately days. It's going to be a tightly contested game. It's going to be close. I have a feeling once again. I love Washington to go out there and get it, but I know it's going to be a hard fought game. Whatever the score finally does come down to being, the Saints have scored at least 20 for quite a long time. So they're able to put up some points despite not having Drew Brees out there. So, but I don't see this as a crazy scoring game.
Julie Donaldson is in the booth every Sunday. For those living in a bunker, will you tell them when the shows come on that you've got during the week, please?
Yeah, so we have our pregame live stream. I don't know if you've watched it, but it's pretty cool. We give you a look inside to the guys warming up on the field. It's the only place you're going to be able to see if you're not at the game or you're coming into the game. You can get it on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, our website, and it's literally showing you these guys warming up, which is, I think, cool. It's one of my favorite parts of the game, getting there early, seeing them going through their drills. So that's Game Day Live. That comes up at 11 o'clock until 12:45, and then game starts at 1. We're on Team 980, ESPN 630, and 105.7 WMAL.
Julie, thank you so much for your time today. Always a blast to catch up with you.
Great. Thanks for having me on.